Welcome back to the Piper Carter podcast. You're listening to Piper Carter, and I am in the studio with my co-host Brittany, and that was the music of the lovely Katori, productionist, producer.
Thank you.
And we have our special guest here, Pilar Cote. So normally we, just bounce around and just hear about everyone's week. So I'm going to start with you, Deja. How was your week? And tell us about that lovely music that we just heard.
My week has been pretty good. I've been pretty inspired. Like God will put like a beat or a sample in my head rather, and then I'll be thinking about it while I'm at work. And then when I get off work, all I can think about is what I was planning on doing to that sample. And then I get off and I execute it, and it's better than I thought it would be. So I'm kind of been like impressing myself and living in a space of gratitude just to continue like those major downloads, because I have not missed with every beat that I've made. I've loved it, which is a great feeling finally. So I've just been enjoying that the past week.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, shouts out to that.
Thank you.
Yeah. What about you, Brittany?
Nothing much. Just at the village there was a karate tournament. It was the first one in 2 years due to COVID. So that was fun. It was fun.
Which village?
Kiwan village.
Right. You just gotta let people know. Everyone listening might not know.
That's true. I'm trying to fix myself. But yeah, it was really, really cool. So the kids did a good job, and it was the first time kind of doing pizza concession based style. So that was dope. It was fun.
Like as they come up, they would
get slices of pizza, and then they were ordering whole pies. So that was like so dope. That was like fast paced. Yeah, it was cool.
Did you have a lot of vegan sales that day?
I would say when we started off, the sales were like 60-40 regular. I don't even want to say regular, 60-40 meat, and now it's like 70-30. Like I'm so proud of the vegan base like growing. So
Brittany's Vegan Supreme, it's Food Detroit's Vegan Supreme Pizza is that deal, y'all. Please go get some. Please go get some pizza.
Oh my God, we hiring a switcher. Brittany's not paid on
Saturdays and Sundays. No, I just wanted to give my girl some quick props. Like that pizza is the ish. Like
thanks.
It's
getting there.
She did me a huge favor one day and delivered it to my last job. All my coworkers were hating. They were all jealous. Where'd you get that? What is that?
They were jealous because you ordered pizza.
The pizza.
Because you got a pizza.
The pizza. Pizza. They smelled it when it was sitting up front when I had it in the back break room. So I had to put it on top of the counter, like the cabinets on top of the sink, like the high.
Oh, is it because they smelled it?
Yeah, I didn't want anybody touching my beautiful pizza.
No, I'm just trying to figure out why people would be jealous of getting pizza delivery.
It
but
smelled better than any pizza has ever smelled.
Okay, that makes sense.
It was amazing.
Well, thank you. It was a great weekend.
It was wonderful.
How was your weekend?
Man, you just cut. Were you done, Deja?
Yeah,
you're done. You're
done. Pizza land. It's food land. Trust me,
Deja.
I get it. It's just so good, y'all.
Pizza is love, though.
Please, it is.
You think pizza's love? I think pizza's love too.
Tomatoes the best.
Oh,
Pilar. It is.
I feel you. No, she's a great pizzaist.
Yeah. Pizza.
Pipe, how was your weekend?
Pretty good, pretty low key. I've been taking all these business classes, and I'm taking like 4 business classes. I'm in this Afro Future Tech Accelerator.
Wow.
I'm in this this other business class that's for people of color to help us, learn how to be in business properly and not just hustlers. And I'm and I'm working on a business plan for my existing businesses, because I've never done a proper business plan for my existing businesses. And I'm also in this crypto and NFT class, trying to play catch up so I can enter the space properly. So That's what I've been doing. A lot of reading, a lot of studying, a lot of watching videos. Yeah, that's
The
what I'm
time
into.
is now.
Sounds so good.
Yeah.
You're still early. You're still so early.
I love it. And
Uh,
speaking of which,
Yeah, so let's welcome. Oh, and then shouts out to Always First Class Media.
yeah.
He says education is key, and thanks for joining us again. We appreciate you. That's what's up. Yeah, let people know, like, share, subscribe, and tell people to hop on because we're live right now. Yeah, so I'm gonna toss it over to you, Pilar. So I gotta tell you about Pilar really quickly. I won't belabor you. Pilar is an Aquarius, like myself.
Yes.
Pilar is a DJ, also a visual artist, and also over the last, I'll say 2 years, has been studying last year and now leading in the space of NFTs, and has built up an extraordinary following on Clubhouse, leading conversations. I mean, just so much that I could say about Pilar, but I'm going to let Pilar speak for herself. So I'll pass it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you. That was thank you. I feel welcomed. So is it my weekend that we're chatting? That we're
The past
discussing?
week.
Yeah, and you did
All that,
something
all
cool.
that, all
Yeah, I did. I'm very grateful. I was in Miami. So for Art
Nice.
Basel. And that was really, really great. And
Oh, wait, you have to tell people just in case people don't know what Art
what
Basel
Art
is.
Basel is. Okay,
Yeah.
so Art Basel is basically the art show in the US, where pretty much everybody descends on Miami, and it is a huge it's a showcase, it's a convention, it's a conference of art. There were, this year there were 243 different galleries that showed at Art Basel, and they come from all over the world, especially across the US, but from Europe. And Art Basel itself started off in Europe, and they now have, I guess, Hong Kong and Miami. I can't remember where the other place is, but it kicked off in, I believe, Stockholm or Sweden. It's the
really?
Europe.
I didn't know that.
Originating, but Miami is the spot. And because Art Basel's there, you know how you hear about the Wynwood Walls and all the art activations that have like kicked off over the past, years since it started showing there. So there's also the Scope show and the Pinta show and Spectrum and Context show, and just all kinds of shows that start throwing. Yeah, if you love art, that's the week to go to. Yeah, it's just art, your eyeballs.
Mad art everywhere.
So do
Yeah.
they like turn the streets and businesses like kind of convert everything
Yeah.
into art?
Yeah, there's
That's
art
so dope.
everywhere, parties everywhere, events everywhere, activations everywhere. And so now with NFTs, with NFT art, this year we saw quite a bit of like NFT platforms and NFT artists just sort of descend on Miami this year, and they had all kinds of activations. There were like AR events, augmented reality.
Oh my gosh, I bet
things.
that was
There were-
so dope.
Yeah, virtual reality ones. And then it was weird. There were actually four mini conferences just like a couple of days before Basel kicked off, the weekend before, for 1 or 2 days. There was like NFT Basel BZL, NFT Basel BAZL, Bit Basel, DecentralCon, like all around crypto art. And yeah, it was kind of cool. So all kinds of people came in and just threw yacht parties and all kinds of stuff around their NFT collection or whatnot.
So some people probably made some money over the weekend too.
Oh yeah, people were
yeah.
selling. There were artists selling their art. It was great.
There were a
my
couple
gosh.
Detroit vendors that I know that were down there. Sheafy and a Parallel were down there.
Oh my gosh, that's so dope.
Yeah.
I've always wondered what Art Basel felt like, and especially because it's a winter here. So it was like 60, 70, probably 70.
Oh my God.
Probably 75 there, right?
The weather was amazing. I was like, I could live here.
What was the highlight of your time at Art Basel?
Oh wow.
Or even in Miami for the past
Miami
week?
in general.
Yeah. That was the highlight of the entire trip.
Seeing the art, because it was my first Basel. So seeing
Okay.
like really amazing art, like phenomenal pieces.
Did you see any that you like felt like, oh my God, this has to come home with me?
Oh my God, there was
So
lot.
many. Yeah.
There was a lot. But also I got to, I don't know if you guys are into gardens or greenery. but-
Landscaping, yeah,
But-
for sure.
So they've got the Miami Botanical Gardens, and I rolled through with a friend, and it was so beautiful. It was
I
just,
bet that was so serene compared to the weather here.
yeah. It was
Oh
like
my
you just
gosh.
breathe it all in. So that was really, yeah. The rest was like pounding. It was just meetings, and it was a little crazy, but
A little hectic, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Well,
What
at
was
least you had some time to enjoy yourself.
Yeah, I agree. I was just gonna ask, like, what was it like with the virtual realities and that whole what would you call it, like the installation there? Like, did you get to experience anything like with that?
Yeah, so I have like I'm a part of a group called Searchlight.art.
Okay.
And so we're a curatorial group that grew out of the community, and we have about 440 artists from 45 countries in our artist pool. So what we did is we partnered up with this is our second time partnering with this AR platform called Illust.space, ILLUST.space. It's so dope.
That's a great name.
Yeah,
Oh my
right?
God.
And
Illust.
that
Wow.
yeah, these boys are really cool. They're from New York. They partnered with us in New York for the NFT NYC
Why didn't I think of that
conference.
name?
But yeah, so they have like an AR platform. And what you do is you take your NFT, like where it's minted, say on OpenSea or whatever, and you dump it into their platform, and then you go on their map and you pick where you want to place it. And so for this one, we said we got all the artists that wanted to be on it, and we were like, just like dump, along Miami, and we had like 3 locations as suggestions, and then you could put it anywhere. So we had 150 pieces, 150 works of art that were in there. So I'm walking out of Basel, and I'm like, let me see what's here, because if you look on the map, you can see, oh, there are a bunch of pieces here.
Oh, right.
So you pull up your phone, you click open,
Oh my
the link,
gosh.
and then you see the artworks, and you can take your phone and like make it bigger and take pictures of it. Like you can see like all the people walking around with this like canvas of like, this work, like just sitting there. It's kind of cool. It's really
Wow.
cool. And you can buy it eventually. They're going to like link it all up so that you can just hit the link, the hyperlink, and then buy it right there if you want to buy that piece.
Oh yeah,
That
that's so
is
fire.
crazy.
Yeah.
Just to imagine, like, I remember the movie, what was that, Smart House? I was thinking about this earlier, the Disney movie Smart House.
I never saw it.
It was a movie basically about how the house had Siri and it could do whatever it needed it to do. And now I was just thinking about that earlier.
crazy,
and then
right?
just
Like
the
the tech.
evolution of technology is wild.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah, what's funny is when Mark Zuckerberg did his introduction for Meta, he did like a video where artists were on the street and he was like inside the metaverse, and then they would be like, hey, we're FaceTiming you and look at this cool hologram of this artwork. And it would like kind of like turn from like 2D to 3D. So that's what like I think of when you mention that, which is super dope.
Okay, so let's back up a little bit. So because I want
was
to
the weekend. It was the weekend.
Yeah, that was the
Sorry.
weekend. So let's back up to your story.
Sure.
So tell us about, where you're from. You're from one of my favorite places. Well, you're from a few places, but you're from one of my favorite places, Toronto.
Mine too.
And yeah, so tell us about like your journey into
Sure.
being this incredible artist and DJ that you are now.
Oh, you're so sweet. So you're right. I was I'm from Toronto. But the reason how I got to Toronto was not usual, I suppose. I was born in Mexico in the state of Puebla, and my mom remarried, and she remarried a French Canadian. So we moved to Canada when I was 5, au Canada. And I grew up in Canada, just outside of Toronto. And then, once you finish high school and everything, you kind of move on and you try to make your own life. And Toronto was home for a while, and I developed my skill sets. I developed creatively there. I got to experiment quite a bit. And, so as a kid, I thought, as a kid, you think that your life is going to be a certain way and you have goals, right? So I thought I was going to be an athlete. I was like,
what was your sport of choice?
So I was a runner. I was a distance runner.
Okay.
I also was a hurdler, like a distance hurdler. And I played volleyball and badminton, pairs badminton.
Okay.
I ran cross country and it was just
They had badminton
yeah.
in Toronto.
And
That's interesting.
Yeah. And
I used to love badminton. I wish they would have had that in the hood.
It was fun.
I'd have been a champ.
It's like a tennis racket, but it's smaller.
It's got like the little birdies.
Like
the birdie.
the birdie,
Uh-huh.
The birdie
yeah.
and the volleyball.
And then the little rubber birdie thing,
Yeah.
and it flies. Yeah.
I was good at that.
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
why I was good at it, but they were just like,
It's
who
fun.
cares? Competition. I'm
Yeah.
like, all right. I tried to play football, but the coach laughed at me and he's like, this is a boys team. You can't, the best you can hope for is like like rugby, because there's a girls rugby whatever conference, but we don't have like a rugby team. So he's like, I guess you're SOL. And I was like so mad.
Heck no.
I went to my locker and I got a clipboard and I walked around school that day because he was like so rude, and he literally laughed at me. He thought I was ridiculous, and I was like, I just wanted to try out. I thought I was fast enough and I could play football. Anyways,
Probably half those boys were lazy too.
right? It's high school.
Yeah.
But yeah, I walked around school. I got girls to sign up and I went back to him the next day and I shoved the clipboard in his stomach. And I said, 94 girls want to play rugby and we want a team. And they had to give us a team.
Yeah.
Look at you. All that
Good
activism.
leadership.
Yeah. So Aquarian.
Yeah.
I checked up on that team. I think like a year and a half ago or something. I was just curious. I was like, what are they doing now? Right.
Mm.
Turns out they're like a championship team now. Like
Wow.
It wouldn't even
championships.
exist if it weren't for you.
I was pissed. I
Yes.
was like,
Yeah.
Way to use anger as motivation.
right.
Mhm.
In the
Yeah.
right direction.
But yeah. So yeah, I just want to make a clarification. I'm actually a Scorpio.
Are
Oh my
you?
gosh, me too.
Oh my God.
When's your birthday?
November 18th.
Mine's is the 15th. My cousin's is the 18th.
But I love Aquariuses. And
Oh my
sometimes-
God. I thought you were Aquarius all this time.
She's a water sign the
But
whole
it is
time.
water,
The whole
but it is
time.
water. It's what? Oh yeah, you're air. But you know what?
But
I
we're the
love
water
Aquarius.
bearer. So yeah.
Yes,
we
that's
bring
why.
the water.
That's why.
I like that pipe.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had a running injury, so that killed Olympic hopefuls. I was hoping to go to the Olympic trials, and so that changed everything. And then I discovered that I could dance.
Hey.
I didn't really discover. Somebody else discovered that I could dance, and I started getting paid to dance in videos and whatever on television, and that developed into choreography. And then I became a creative director and
a stylist, right?
Yeah, and then I got into fashion show production. I've produced over 100 fashion shows.
Oh, wow.
And just and then I really wanted to make music, and I really wanted to work on my songwriting. And so that was always in the background. It was like, okay, I'll use the tour to learn how touring goes and like all the ins and outs of the industry and all that sort of stuff, so that when it comes to my stuff, I know I know what to expect. I know what and all that. So
yeah. Great.
So then, I mean, I guess there's so many ways that we could go with this conversation. So, okay. So when did you move to Detroit?
About 9 years ago.
About 9 years ago. And
Yeah.
what was that, catalyst, or what led you to Detroit?
So I wanted to finally work so Toronto is a little bit like fast paced, like New York, right? So the tempo is really different than Detroit. And, I was living a life where it was just client, event, like 3 events on the same day. It was crazy. I had no life. And I felt I wasn't being creative. Like I wasn't creating my art and my things. And so moving to Detroit was the opportunity to begin creating like my body of work and to start working, like legit working on my music, and that sort of thing. And, it's the birthplace of techno. For DJing, that was like, I was going to, this was where I was going to really start pushing it. And so, yeah, it was a really good move. I had no idea though what to expect. I didn't realize Detroit was segregated. I didn't even know segregation still existed.
Yeah.
All the things, like, I was just like, wow,
Yeah, it's pretty tough to know that segregation still exists coming from Toronto, right?
Oh man, it's so diverse.
Oh my gosh,
mind blowing! It just blew my mind.
Which is interesting because because you can be fooled. Because I was fooled. Okay, I admit I was fooled. Like, oh, Toronto's this diverse place, but Canada's racist as shit.
Oh yeah,
racist, 100%. Sure. The thing is, it's like it's not tolerated. Like it's not acceptable to be openly racist like it is in the U.S. In the U.S., you can be openly racist and people pat you in the back. You know what I'm saying? Like, like they
like there's more microaggressions. There is what you're maybe saying. Okay.
It's subtle and it's undercover, but it's there. It does exist. Although there is a genuine acceptance of, especially like in Toronto, of multiculturalism, and there's a sense of when you live in Canada, when people say like, oh, what's your background? Even if you were born in Canada, even if your family has been in Canada for like 3 generations,
they know their heritage.
You'll still say I'm Russian.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? You'll
still say I'm
Chilean. You'll
in
still
the
say I'm
US,
Italian.
but actually in the US, it's the same.
I just noticed that people here say American first.
Well, in the Midwest.
Oh.
In the Midwest. But if you go to New York,
do they identify?
No one wants to be American.
When you go to New York, everyone identifies as their mother country.
Okay.
Oh, gotcha.
When you're in New York, like people say I'm fill in the blank. Right? Like
gotcha.
whatever it is, that's what they are. And the only ones who say they're American are white folks.
Yeah, I see that a lot.
That maybe don't know.
Or people second, third generation, and this is maybe an old thing, but second, third generation who doesn't positively identify with their parents' mother country.
With their parents' country, right?
Yeah. But nowadays it's like pretty uncool to not identify with your parents' mother country. Right?
Yeah, I had a homeboy who said that I had a homeboy who said back in the day, like in the 90s, it was like negative, like to be Haitian. Like no one wanted to be right? Haitian.
Nobody wanted to admit they were Haitian. Yeah. Right.
And then now all of a sudden, like I'm not Jamaican. I'm Haitian, right?
Right.
Which is hilarious. So
yeah.
I don't understand the stigma. I have a Haitian uncle, and he is very prideful of his. I'm not Haitian. He's like married in Haitian family uncle, but he's very proud of himself and his heritage, and he will let anybody know that anytime.
Well, because previously, it has to do with assimilation, and so a lot of people, second, third generation, I'd say like honestly, before Black Lives Matter, would try to distance themselves, or basically try to prove how American they were. But I mean, actually hip hop helped, honestly, because I know folks were embarrassed in the 80s of their Caribbean heritage, and then when reggae became popular, then everyone was like, oh yeah, my grandparents, and then I know here Detroit is different. Like growing up between Detroit and New York, I can tell you, like Detroit was different. Like in the 70s and the 80s, like many people would not want to tell you, like you would just think they were
like Detroiters,
just Black American or whatever, and then you would go to their house and you would smell the food and see the flag and the parents of the accent, and you're like, oh wow. And in New York, it's a lot more normalized.
Right.
People
like
express their culture
so normal.
outwardly. Everything you're gonna wear your colors. You're gonna wear your flag. You're gonna you
So I've
know,
always thought that there was
yeah.
a huge like Caribbean population in Toronto.
Yeah, it's
And
Yes.
to hear that
Oh,
there's
yeah,
still
for
like a lot
sure.
of microaggressions going on, I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
I think it's part of, I don't know, I just think it's part of it, even in New York, right? I mean, they'll tell you they're just being the stereotypes are true, but it's like really borderline racist, the things you'll hear people say
Oh yeah,
about
New
different
York is
cultures,
racist.
you know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
I do like it that, everyone is kind of used to each other's culture, embraces each other's culture through food, through music, right? You go to the club, right? There's a whole DJ set from Caribbean through Jamaica through Afrobeat, right? It's a time slot, right? So everyone is kind of
spilling
forced
over.
to embrace it, but it's still racist.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it's America, right?
Right.
And so
Right.
it's
Right.
just a
North
racist place.
America. It's all North
It's
America.
a
North
racist
America. It's all
place.
North America.
It's just that you're gonna experience more. I hate to say you experience more culture because that really disrespects, as if to say like Black Americans don't have culture. You have more diversity of cultures, more diversity of cultures. But yeah, so in Toronto, you guys have a robust independent fashion industry there.
Yeah.
A robust hip hop culture there.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite rappers are from Toronto. Shouts out to Choclair and that whole crew.
You said Drake too?
Well, that's your generation.
I
Six God himself.
But yeah, he is one of the biggest. Got to give it to him for his work and his work ethic. I'll give him that. And but he's in a lot of trouble right now, isn't he? And then I mean, just the art scene there. And just speaking of which, I mean, many countries and cities and things that you go to have a whole governmental department that's dedicated to financing the arts.
Yeah.
Can you
support of the
speak about
arts.
that?
Yeah,
Because we don't
Canada-
have that in Detroit.
Yeah.
We used to, but we no longer have it.
Yeah, Canada supports the arts. It funds. I mean, it would be great to have more support, obviously, but it does do some supporting. Even with they have. I mean, even in music, they'll stipulate. We'll give you, like, say, this particular artist, some writer, rapper, woman, or whatever. We'll give you 30 grand. Do you know what I mean? You just have to make sure that. I think it's something like 55 or 70% of the production and the writing has to come from a Canadian.
Yep.
So the writer, it has to be mostly written by Canadian talent, has to be mostly produced by Canadian talent, it has to be mostly recorded. You know what I mean? Like all of it has to, so they really do push, and they also do stipulate things like radio stations and stuff have to play Canadian music, that sort of thing. And same with arts. Like you get, there are like all kinds of support. Like there's support for the arts in Canada because they do believe that that's important.
Yeah, that's what's up. So okay, so you moved to Detroit, and are you styling at this point, or it's really about the DJing, or are you doing your visual art? Like,
so yeah, here I'm more focused on my visual art and like the performance art, poetry, like spoken word poetry, and the DJing and music for sure. Yeah.
And so you came here, you said 9 years ago.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, you're fully embedded in the scene. You're well respected by many of the, pioneers and the bigwigs. Talk about your journey in terms of, because you're great with technology, you know the music, the culture. Can you talk about how you've cultivated yourself as this, really technically savvy, visionary artist?
Wow, it's so huge. Visionary. I will say that I think for me, it's mostly that I am super curious. I'm a very, very curious person. I want to know how things work. I want to know how things function. And I think early on in my career, I realized that most of the spaces I maneuvered in, most of the industries I maneuvered in were very male dominated. And I realized that being male dominated, they weren't going to be very open armed. They were very, very clear about, we don't really want you in our space. Do you know what I mean? and they weren't very helpful, if that makes any sense. And the ones that would extend some kind of interest or some kind of like, oh, I would love to like collaborate or let's do something. Usually there was an ulterior motive. It was like, come to the studio at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, it would be like, let's go out on a date. Let's go out for drinks. Let's, you know, it was all this attachment. And I was like, I can't deal with this garbage. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just want to make music, or I just want to do this, or I just want to play.
My life.
Do you know what I mean? Like, why can't I just, you know what I mean? Like, why can't I just audition? Like, why can't I just, it was always like somebody trying to
Some
get
type of casting
something.
couch.
Yeah,
Type thing.
constant. It was part of the reason why I stopped going to auditions too, because I was just like, the misogyny in the audition rooms was so vile that I was just like, I can't even swallow this. Like, this is just ridiculous. Like a bunch of guys at a table all like leering at you and saying like, get down lower, do this, do that. And I'm just like, I'm a professional dancer. I'm not a ripper. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to, like, it was just ridiculous. So yeah. And a lot of the choreography would annoy me too, would be like, why do the guys on set, like, or at like, you know, part of the show or whatever, get choreography that's like badass choreography that's like really complex.
Yeah.
And because I'm a woman, I'm like lying on the ground pretending to like touch myself. Like, why is that my choreography? You know what I mean? Like, it was just brutal.
Yeah.
And it drove me nuts. And that's what, it pushed me into like, okay, I'm going to choreograph. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, and I think that just, and the need to have to do it yourself. Do you know what I mean? So it was like, I started asking around, like, what equipment do I need? What kind of system do I need? What do I need to learn? And just asking like this DJ, that producer, the ones who would give me tidbits, and then putting it all together and realizing, okay, like, you know, and then you start off with like, you know, Cubase or whatever, and then Pro Tools, and then you're moving around, and then like Ableton Live is more my thing, and like all the different, you know, DAWs that there are, and all the different ways. And for, you know, for DJing, that actually happened because I couldn't communicate with the DJs for fashion shows. They didn't understand what I needed. And I wanted like, you know, this type of music for like gowns coming out. And this type of music for like denim coming out. Those are two different sounds. You know what I mean?
Got you,
two different feels. And they were just looking at me like, yo, I'll just play like whatever. I'll play some hip hop. And I'm just like, So, you know, so that's what forced me to have to like start really doing music programming. And then a friend of mine who's a DJ, Joey Reverence, I'll never forget. He's like, you know, you just need to mix. Like, just, I'll teach you how to mix. You'll be able to mix like so fast. And then you don't need to rely on these fools. And so he taught me to mix. And then I just basically put it all together and then just would hand it to the DJ, and all they had to do was press play.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
nice. Look at you.
Yeah, but it was, you know, all of that. And then that understanding and that being able to like do it yourself because you have to, started just really opened me up to like all the possibilities. And so when new things would come up, I'm just being a curious person. I'd be like, well, what is that new thing? What can I do with that? And what can we build with that? And I've always been one to really encourage women and girls to like get into tech, get into the space, get into music. You want a DJ? Like, I'll help you learn. Like, I'll teach you how to mix, like whatever, you know what I mean? Like, we need more and more and more women so that it's normal, so that you're not like, you know, those sets or those nights where people are like, oh, like all these DJs are women. It's like women DJs. It's like nobody ever says, why is the whole lineup male DJs?
Yeah.
Never hear that, right? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm always like trying to push for, you know, to like move the space forward and to like open doors. And like, if I have to learn tech first or get my head around it to understand it, to like help somebody else, do you know what I mean? Get their head around it or make it sort of more accessible to somebody else, then like that's my job. That's what
and you do that really well. I want to move. There's so many points of conversation that I want to have.
This is so good.
I know, right?
Let's move to your the visual art. Tell us about your, you know, medium and your style and how you have been nurturing and cultivating that part of your career.
Okay. So my earliest memory of drawing or creating art was when I was 3. in Mexico, my grandfather used to like let me color while I was watching cartoons. And moving to Canada, to a pretty much an all white city, and the way I looked, it was my first understanding that there was something wrong with the way I looked. Right, it was my first like my first experience of racism. Right, there were boys that would wait for me after school when I was 5 to beat the crap out of me, like every day. Right, they were like older, and they would wait every day. Sometimes they'd have sticks, sometimes they'd have stones, sometimes it'd just be punches and kicks. Yeah, it was brutal.
You were a baby.
It was brutal, and I was just like, they don't like the way I look. I could already read and write. Because in Mexico, you learn to read and write when you're 3. So within about 6 months, I could read and write English. And then I started to realize it's my appearance. My cousin followed me one day, like she came with me because she realized that I was getting beat up. And she was like Canadian born. Yeah. Our mothers are sisters. Yeah. And she came with me, and she stood there, and she was like, I was worried. I was really scared because I was like, now she's gonna get beat up because I told her about this. Oh, yeah. Right. And she went, so she has an older brother who always beats her up. And so she knew how to fight. And it was the first time I ever saw a girl fight. And she, a 6-year-old girl, took on these boys and pounded, like bloody noses, pounded them like into the ground. I was like, they never bothered me again after that. But that was like an empowering moment. And right around that time, I started realizing that, like, I would find solace in drawing at school because, like people were like distant and they were just like that girl, and kids started coming around and seeing what I was drawing, and they liked what I was drawing. They were like, oh my God, you're such a good drawer. Like, look, right. And it was when I realized that art had power, and it started opening the doors. It started breaking down, the barriers that kids were taught, like to hate. Do you know what I mean? And a lot of kids stopped hating me. I started developing friends through art. Wow. So art I started seeing the power of art. Yeah. And I loved it. So it just, not that, but like I love drawing, I love painting. And that just, I built it, all the way through high school and into university. I kept working on, my sculpture, like painting and all of that. So it's really important. And it was actually in Detroit that I got my first opportunity to show in a museum. So I've shown at the DIA now 4 times.
And that's the Detroit Institute of Arts for people that are listening. It's the
museum here.
It's the what would you call it? The premier arts institution in Detroit. It has all of the classical, pieces in it. Yeah.
Like something like 69,000 works of art that are held there. And it's considered I learned recently, it's considered one of the 7 top collections in the US because of Detroit having its heyday as, Paris of the West, being like the epitomous place to be, like at its height, at its, like industry height, fashion, everything was here. And so that museum grew to like a really spectacular collection.
And it also has the piece, the Diego Rivera.
Yes, it has Diego
which
Rivera,
is a very historic piece about the art dedicated to the auto worker on the line.
Yep.
So when you go in there, you'll see it's huge.
Yeah.
In the what is it? The atrium.
Yeah, like that.
That's called. Yeah. And you'll see this huge piece that's dedicated to all the people working on the line.
Murals. Yeah, ginormous murals. Really beautiful. Yeah, they have a lot of great pieces in there.
So you showed there. That's pretty top notch.
Yeah, I'm really
fortunate. 4 times.
Okay. Brittany figured out how to use the sound effects.
Oh, I'm a G now.
Okay.
She good.
So yeah.
Just keep switching.
She good. She good. Don't trip. She good.
You, Deja.
She good.
Okay, look at you. And then so now tell us how you were able to, get shown in the DIA.
Yeah,
because that's probably not necessarily easy feat.
No,
right.
It's an institution that's pretty much gatekeeperish, and like every cultural institution is pretty closed off to people like us, women of
Mhm,
color,
mhm.
people of color. Like these are cultural institutions. For anyone that isn't aware, museums and galleries across the planet, less than 5% of all the works held in those institutions are works of art made by people of color or women, right? So, and that's not because women don't create work or create art, or
Not
people
at
of color
all.
don't create art. It's just that it's not valued by the people that make those decisions,
Mm.
right? Which are,
Mhm.
you know, the people that make those decisions. We'll just identify them. So it's really difficult to get your work shown or to get recognized. But there was an opportunity that somebody mentioned to me. They were like, you're culturally Mexican. Have you heard of the Ofrendas exhibit? And I was like, what's that? So Day of the Dead is a celebration that Mexico has every year, November 1st and 2nd. And we celebrate our ancestors. We honor our ancestors. And it's a celebration of life. It's a celebration of their lives. And you honor them. And we don't look at death as a fearful thing. It's rooted in Aztec culture and Aztec practices, like Mexica practices. Anyways, there was a partnership between the Mexican consulate and the Detroit Institute of Arts to have like ofrenda exhibits, right? To exhibit these ofrendas, these altars, these offerings to our ancestors.
Yes.
And so I was like, oh, I'm going to submit. So I submitted, and luckily that first submission I got in. And that's how I was able to like get in that first time.
Did you have images of your own family members and people that were special to you in your submission?
On that one, it was about my grandparents. I centered it on my grandparents.
Beautiful.
So it was like this big thing.
Wow.
So,
That's gorgeous.
Yeah, abuelitos.
Yeah.
The abuelitos.
And so you've exhibited.
Yeah.
You're DJing some of the top events here.
It's fun stuff.
Fun stuff. And how did you get into this crypto and NFT space?
Oh my gosh. Right. So there's a platform called Clubhouse. And it's an audio only platform. And anybody who's not on it, you should check it out. It's quite fun. And you listen to all kinds of people having all kinds of conversations, and you can just join by like jumping up on stage, I want to join, I want to add in. So anyways, back in August of 2020, we're deep in the pandemic. Everybody's at home. Nobody's really doing stuff. Things are all shut down, and it's crazy, and people are going a little stir crazy. And Clubhouse starts taking off, and it's still in beta form. So it's still not open to the public. One of my girlfriends, super savvy woman, one of the most intelligent women I've ever met. She's a founder, like a tech founder in San Francisco. And she comes originally from Detroit. And I met her here through an ex. She's her recording studio. She ended up selling it to it is now Eminem's studio. It's now M's studio. But she made her money in that and in e-ticketing early on and that sort of thing. And she got really into tech. But she invited me onto this platform because she knows about all the like new things, right?
Right.
And she's like, "You got to be on this. Like, this is your thing." And I'm like, "Oh, not
she
another
sent you
thing."
the invite so you
yeah,
can get in.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, "Oh no, not another thing." But you know what? If Nicole remembers, so if Nicole says something's cool, it's probably going to be really, really cool because she always sends me to all these like really interesting things. And so I was like, let me get on there. So I get on there and I discover all these like really fascinating people, like people who are on the forefront of like all kinds of things, like doing all kinds of really, incredible things from the nonprofit world, from like CEOs, founders, from tech, like all over the place, like just artists, just all kinds of things going on in there. And I stumble in this room in, I want to say like February or March or whatever. Yeah, February. And it was about, crypto and NFTs.
This year.
No, last year. Oh, yeah, no.
2021.
2021.
Yeah.
Yes. This year. And I was like, oh, let me listen to what are they talking about? And I was like, oh, and it started to click with, so the year before in 2019, again, Nicole had sent me to this thing. She was like, look, all these people are coming into Detroit. They're doing this conference. It's called Radical Exchange. And it's a tech thing, but they're like, it involves, like abolition and data justice and all the justices and all the things, and you're such a movement person, and like, you know, you need to go there. They're looking for some artists, and they want artists who are activists. And so I recommended you, and it's one of those things, you know, it's a really busy week and whatever, but like Nicole wants me to go. So yeah, okay, fine. You know, I'm in, right?
Right.
And it turns out that it was, so Radical Exchange was headed by, what is his name? White. One of the head guys from Microsoft.
Okay.
So it's like a bunch of Microsoft, Google people, and the keynote speaker is Vitalik Buterin, the gentleman that created Ethereum.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Okay. And he's apparently on the board. I probably mispronounced his name, but so it was all this. And for 2 days, I was immersed in blockchain and all of this. And I started, you know, in the workshops and stuff, like they were talking about how they're going to, how they were going to utilize the blockchain for more justice-driven voting and all this stuff. Like, and we just got into all these discussions. I was able to bring up literacy, and because literacy is like a huge thing for me. And you know, it was new for them to think of illiteracy as a block for access to tech. And I was like, you know, you guys are all tech people and tech is the future, but understand that there are places in this country where people can't read. Do you know what I mean? Like Detroit has like a 47%, you know, rate of, you know, like almost complete illiteracy. Do you know what I mean? Like, so functional literacy, like working at about a 3rd grade level to like complete illiteracy. And then the country, the US alone, like the US in general, it grows in the literacy rate about 19% every year from high school graduates who can't read. That's like 19% every year. But anyways, like, you know, I was just like discussing all kinds of things with them. But that was like my first intro to NFTs, and that started to click right there. I was like, oh, that's what they were talking about. Because they were like, you can use this for art. And I was just like, how can you use this for art? Like, what's the blockchain? What? I didn't get, do you know what I mean? Like, they were like, you could put it in, you know, and I'm like, yeah, my canvases, I don't know how you put that, you know what I mean? Like, it didn't, they didn't know the language in that moment to explain it to me, like how to utilize it. But it was in Clubhouse that it clicked for me. And I was like, oh, I take a digital photograph of my art, right? Or I create digital artwork on, you know what I mean? Like on
some
on
platform,
in a phone, on an iPad, whatever, in a computer, and I utilize it or whatever. Like there's so many ways, do you know what I mean, that you can create, or you use a video or do like, you know, poetry recorded on a video, like all kinds of things. Right. And I'm like, and that's
anything not tangible.
Yes. and that becomes an NFT, and that goes on the blockchain, and that becomes like access to wealth building and access to all the things and ownership and provenance and secondary market sales that we're not, as artists, you're not privy to that in the traditional markets.
Yeah. And so you went from that, you know, listening, like being in the room,
and deep
diving to a lot of studying,
Yeah.
to now being a premier voice, a thought leader, a go-to person, expert on Clubhouse, and you have your own channel. Is it called a channel?
Well, there are clubs.
So you have your own club on there.
And then rooms. You
and
can have rooms and like ongoing things.
Yeah. So talk about all of that, because you've grown that over time, and you are continuing to bring more women into the space. You have some women-centered spaces. You are brought up to speak quite often, and you're working with a lot of founders now to bring more, or to bring Detroiters into the NFT space, Detroit artists into the NFT space. So let's talk about that.
Okay, yeah.
That's a lot, but yeah.
So Clubhouse functions where you can create clubs and you can build that social following in there. I created a club for house and techno enthusiasts. I created, and it's me. It's the largest one on there. I created a club for women, mainly women of color, and all of those types of issues, centering, you know, sisterhood and collaboration and that sort of thing. And it's called Momentum is Ours. And so that grew. And I was part of NFTS Tips, which is a very, very large NFT and crypto kind of community space that was like created by a bunch of like guys and a few women, and that sort of thing. And in that space, I was able to grow. Do you know what I mean? Like as I learned and as I was onboarded, then I was starting to onboard other people and educate them about what the space is, and then really push for women, bringing women into the space and teaching them and meeting loads of women that are like leaders in the space, and just getting asked because of like, I'm an abolitionist, so I'm very vocal about things when they come up. And so when the racists are speaking, or something is brought up that is a misunderstood a myth or something, like I'm open to like going up and just being like, well, this is the truth,
right.
sort of shedding light on more truthful, factual things, and how history really did happen and things like that. And so I get invited to panels where women are centered, where equity is centered, where rise up, collaborations, like solidarity, like all those types of things. I also get invited into like poetry rooms and that sort of thing. But yeah, and NFT spaces. And I'm about to launch NFT Matters, a podcast centered around NFT, like crypto, the culture, for the evangelists and the crypto curious, and really focusing on not just like the great things that are happening in the space, but the women who are leading a lot of what's happening in the space. Because there are some movement leaders that are, you're just like mind blowing, like just what they're doing, what they've done, how they carry themselves. And a lot of the conferences don't focus on them. It's very male dominated still. It's still like panel, like guy. You know what I mean? But yeah, but the women are like really doing a lot of like incredible things.
Wow. And, I'm very excited because you're going to be coming on our show to give us a little bit of tidbits so we can do some cross promotion of your podcast. Oh, yeah. There you go, Brittany. Yeah. So, now I wanted to go into this whole like NFT conversation, but I think maybe we'll save that for some of the other sort of episodes. I wanted to just maybe just like right now. I mean, there are spaces where people can go and hear about the basics, but just for here and now, what's interesting to me is just even the concept of an NFT, because I'm like, okay, historically you're looking at the materials that the artist used, or maybe materials that are no longer available, or the period in time, or the history, or the story behind maybe the artist, or something, the technique or something like that. And I'm looking at like, as an old school person, you know uh and this obviously is at least 20 plus years ago, the idea of a JPEG
Right.
as a thing is a deteriorated form. It's a what would you consider it? I guess a lesser quality of this fuller form, right, of an image. And so it's a compression. And so depending on the pixel size, and depending on the size that you create, it could literally be this really tiny size thing that if you try to blow it up, it's going to look terrible.
Right.
It's going to become deteriorated. And so within the art world, or the commercial world, or just the world of images, it's always been considered uh, undesirable to have a JPEG. A JPEG is like just for preview, or you don't really share like JPEGs like professionally, like
Right.
and so it's interesting to me to see people making millions of dollars now off of what was considered trash, if you know.
Right.
So can you speak about that part about the value piece and, how
Sure.
that value is created?
Right. So what's interesting is that I first want to just say that what's really interesting is that in this time, like the time that we're in right now, creators, like creatives who normally were like digital artists, right?
Mhm.
Were not considered for up until now, really weren't considered artists, right?
Right.
You wouldn't consider that, you would consider that person a hired help, right? Like
Yeah.
this is someone you
So
hire.
true.
It's right. Like, so they
Mhm.
weren't considered artists of their own merit, right? You wouldn't
Yeah.
see them exhibiting in a gallery. You wouldn't see them, in a book or a magazine being interviewed as an artist, right? No matter how
Mhm.
amazing they were. Like it generally wasn't considered by the art world, by society in general, like these are artists.
Mhm.
So that has shifted, right? And now for the first time, we're looking at people who create digital works, whether they're 2D works or 3D works, as actual artists of their own right, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's amazing. The fact that there is now value in being creative, right? Like creativity has value now, as opposed to before, people would you'd often hear that thing where your parents are like, no, don't be an artist because you're never going to make any money. Do you
Yeah,
know what I
my
mean? Like,
mom
go
literally told me
be a
not to be a
doctor.
photographer.
Right. Go be a doctor. Go be
Yeah.
something else. Do not. Everyone's always dissuading people.
Mhm.
For the first time, people are like, no, being creative is actually not only profitable, but it is like the future. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like they're recognizing like how important creativity is, right? Especially for our future and especially right now in tech. But there's so with cryptocurrencies, without getting too crazy, when you say create an NFT and you put it on the blockchain, and the blockchain, think of it as like a ledger, something that records information and it's just locked in there, right? So when you have a ledger saying like, I deposited this money into my bank account and then I took it out on this day. This is, it's like a record in your bank account, like a ledger or accounting ledger, that kind of thing. Think of the blockchain as a record of things, right? So the records get put in there, right? And those bits of information get put in these little blocks and they're there forever because it's decentralized. The computer systems are all over the place that are used. It's not it's not one computer that you're
Mhm.
putting the information in, so that's the only computer that has it. So you can change that information whenever you want because it's just on that computer. But if that information is held on a whole bunch of computers all over the
Mhm.
place, you can't change that information. You can't go to all those computers. You can't even find where it's held. Do you know what I mean? So
Right.
it's immutable. Like it can't be changed. Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean? So once it's locked into the blockchain, that information can't be changed, which gives it value now because that now tells us when something was created, when something was bought, what it was bought for, and maybe who bought it after, how the price, right?
Mhm.
It's all locked in. That can't be forged. It can't be changed. You can't take a work of art and say like, oh, I actually bought it for $11 million when it was you only paid 500 for it. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like you can't do
Mhm.
that, right? So there's provenance too, because right in like within the blockchain, within that NFT, you can see who created it, who bought it, like all that
Mhm.
provenance is built in, right? So that has value. And what also gives it value is when, say, you create something and you say, I'm gonna sell it for $100 worth of Ethereum coin, right?
Yeah.
Which right now, I don't know what it's at today, but let's just say it's 0.005 or something, right? ETH, right? That 0.005 today may be worth $100, right?
Yeah.
But as ETH increases in value now, right?
Mhm.
Like 6 months from now, if today, like let's say one Ethereum coin is worth $4,000.
Yeah.
But in 6 months, what if it's worth $10,000, right?
Right.
One Ethereum coin.
So
that
then
means,
the value of whatever you bought
right,
then goes up.
right. So
Mhm.
now your piece is not worth $100 anymore because 0.005 is now it would be worth like say $250.
Yeah. So you don't
Right?
even have to raise the price of it. You just
It increases all on its own because
Mhm.
it's not sitting on USD money.
Yeah.
It's sitting on ETH. And
Yep.
that as that value changes, so does the value of your piece. And so people are looking at this as a mode of investment.
Yeah, they
right?
are.
As an asset. It's an asset, and you can put anything. You can sell. You can attach a car to it. You can attach real estate to that contract, that smart contract that gets created on that as part of
Platform.
that NFT. Yeah, as what's minted. You could do whatever. It doesn't have to be art. It's just that art is like the big winner right now. Like what people are really like creating and moving around and selling and putting money into. And yeah, so as an investment for people who speculate, people who, you know, flip NFTs or whatever, or just want to invest, throw money into something, it's an easy peasy kind of thing. And it does, you know, it holds value, and it generates, I guess, it generates wealth more quickly in many cases than traditional art. So where, you know,
because it keeps moving.
Right.
Yeah.
So the way a canvas, like if you buy a painting in the traditional market, which is why a lot of people in the asset class will buy big works of art, because for them, that's an asset that's going to appreciate. It's going to increase in value, but it's going to take years usually for that to increase in value. Right.
Yeah.
Whereas an NFT in 6 months, it might have like increased by $69,000.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That doesn't happen in the traditional world usually. Like it's really not common at all.
Right.
But in NFTs, that happens often.
And then what are you doing? And because you're doing a lot of work in this space for your personal work, and then you're helping, then you're, like I said, you're working with the some founders to bring Detroiters in. So can you talk about what you're doing in this space?
Yeah. So I'm a part of that group, Searchlight.art. And we create exhibits, and we're a curatorial body, and we create opportunities for artists to be seen. So we do push for emerging artists, but also take on traditional artists and you know, really established artists in the space and in the traditional world, in the analog world. And we have 440 artists and growing from 45 countries. We've our first exhibit was in Miami off of the Bitcoin conference in June. And that had about 114 artists in that show and 5 days of different activations and all kinds of stuff. Then we did a bunch of different shows, like smaller things. And then we for the NFT NYC conference in New York in November, we ended up being the official curator for like an art exhibit within the conference itself. Christie's was the other curator, so we were like in line with.
Tell people who Christie's is, because that's huge. It's one of the biggest art collector dealers in the world.
Yeah, Christie's is like one of the biggest art auction houses on our planet, and so they deal with like pieces that are worth millions of dollars. Like it's big art.
Yeah,
like,
that's where all the top
huge.
people.
Yeah,
Christie's and Sotheby's.
Yeah, Christie's and Sotheby's. So we got kind of like put in line with them. They were the other one. And they did.
That's incredible.
I know we were like, what? But we had 227 artists that we showed at that. And then we had 6 other activations. So we had 3 art exhibits, like in real life. We had 2 metaverse exhibits in the metaverses, one in Decentraland, one in Spatial.
Wow.
And we had 2 events, like panels, and one of them was also like a collectible show. So a lot of the collections that sell like 10,000 versions of whatever the NFTs, like those NFT collections, it was the Booneland Party was another one that we were affiliated with. And yeah, we had just a whole bunch of stuff going on. Plus, we got on board with Illust Space, and we had 100 works of art throughout New York City showing in augmented reality for that. So we didn't sleep for a while. Like,
yeah.
And so just explain, because all of this is happening. When you say we had it here, it's virtually happening.
Yes, virtually happening.
And was it hybrid? Did you also have a physical space?
Yes. So we did. So the physical show was showing at the conference and at the Blockchain Center for Mask Ephemera, which was the curated show with 227, it was 169 artists. And then we had an extra 67 artists or 69 artists in an additional reel for the conference. But Mask Ephemera had 169 artists. And so that showed also in the blockchain center outside of the conference for anyone who didn't have a $500 ticket or $1,200 ticket for the conference, they could still see the show, right? Then we also partnered with the Door Gallery, and we threw that was like another 100 artists, 100 pieces there. And then we had Andressa Ferletti wanted to do a Latin artist kind of showcase at her space in Brooklyn. And so that went off, and we had, I can't remember, I think it was like 50 something artists in that, like all Latin artists showing there. And then we had from our pool, then we had the half of the Mask Ephemera show in the Decentraland Pranksy Gallery, and the other half showing in the Spatial. We partnered with Spatial VR. If anyone's not familiar with Spatial, you can go in and create these awesome galleries or have awesome like virtual meetings with your teams. Do you know what I mean? Like you can build all these like virtual spaces and have teams like meetings with your teams where you're like little virtual people avatars and you can talk to each other.
Yeah.
Like in there. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, like, so yeah, we had a whole bunch of stuff going on.
So this is so exciting. I'm just excited that you're gonna usher us into the metaverse and all of this space. I want to save like more of this for some other times.
Yeah, for sure.
I have so many questions.
Oh, you do? Go ahead.
Oh, this one is a stupid question. So
There
I'm
are
on
no stupid questions.
I'm on searchlight.art and I'm looking at the artist directory, right? So I pulled up JJ Weinberg. Okay.
JJ Weinberg. Oh yeah.
Weinberg. Okay. So he has this dope piece where he's doing a parody, which I love, like the description of the art, right?
Yeah.
And he's doing this parody of what's the guy's name? Let me go back down. I forget his name. Bob Ross.
Bob Ross.
And it's dope because it's like Steve Jobs holding up an iPhone.
Yeah.
And it's like a double picture. I wonder if I can share it.
Yeah. And it's a whole collection. He's got this whole collection he's created around that. His story is phenomenal. Like if you hear him talk about like the Bob Ross story, like it's crazy. Like some crazy backstories.
So I see here that the sale on his piece ends May 17th, 2022.
Right.
And right now in US dollars, it's almost around $7,000 to buy this piece. Okay. So someone makes an offer to buy this piece for this price. Someone bids a couple dollars higher, and this goes on and on and on until May 17th, right? And so once they purchase it, they're purchasing this through cryptocurrency. Right. And then once they make that purchase, they own the NFT of this picture. Is that am I stating that properly?
Yeah. So what happens is the NFT transfers into, because this is all done with wallets, digital wallets.
Kind of like your friend who was in the e-tickets, right? Where you got the Apple wallet and the ticket goes to your app. Okay, I'm with you.
Right. So you have your wallet, which is going to be a MetaMask wallet for Ethereum. So you've got your MetaMask wallet and he's got his MetaMask wallet, right?
Okay.
And right now that is connected to his MetaMask wallet.
Okay.
So you make a bid, say like it's 7,000, but say you're like, I don't really want to pay 7,000. Let me offer him 5.
Okay.
Let's see if like I'll offer him whatever 5 ETH is right now, like $5,000 worth of USD and ETH is, right? And offer it to him. He might take it. He might say, you know what? I know it's up. I know I have it up. I have this price point for it, but I'll accept 5. And at that point, he would accept it and it would transfer like automatically. The ETH transfers from your wallet into his wallet.
Okay.
And that NFT automatically transfers into your wallet as you are now the owner.
And
that's automatic.
And the blockchain keeps the ledger of the whole transaction.
Yeah. And so whenever you look at that piece, whenever you bring that up, it'll have a record of it at the bottom. At the bottom of every NFT, you'll see the record. You'll see who created it, the date and time they created it, who it got transferred to, what they paid, all of that. It's all in there.
Okay. So this is where the stupid but facetious Debical Avids question comes in. Okay.
Sure.
So I'm like, okay, I love this piece. I'm broke. I'm not paying $7,000 for this.
Sure.
I'm going to take a screenshot of it
Okay.
And then I'm going to save it to my phone. And then I'm going to share with my friends on Instagram, on Twitter as an original piece. And then I go to sell it for, I create it. How can I ask this? So can I create?
You could take a screenshot of it and create your own NFT,
but
and say that it's your work. You could say that.
But so I guess my question is how do we ensure that this artist, or does the blockchain already ensure, because it's timestamped, the ledger's there, that this is the original piece? So if 1 million people screenshot it and create their own NFTs, it'll actually maybe even drive the value up more.
That's exactly it.
Got it.
Right, because now I could pretend that that's my piece, but at the end of the day, he has that record.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying? And that record says like, no, actually, he's the one who created it, and he's the one who put it on the blockchain first. So people have taken people to court and said like, you're messing with my art already, right? Because it's on the blockchain.
Yeah.
Because you can see it right there. Do you know what I mean? And like that's
an easy lawsuit.
Right.
Yeah, right.
And if I'm doing an identical, if I'm just taking that, that's not acceptable in the art world. What you can do to get, some people will get around things like Nike swoosh or whatever, and they'll like change it,
like, you know, make it upside down or in another,
so
like
that
a mirror direction.
So it becomes like an artistic version of something. You can do that if you choose to do that. I don't advise doing that, but like people have done it, they do it. Do you know what I mean? But it has to be a pretty obvious like take on something.
Got it.
You know what I mean? As opposed to like something identical, because something identical where somebody has money and desire to come after you, it's on the blockchain. There's a record of it.
Yeah.
Everything that I've liked that we've talked about, even with talking about your story, right, is learning so you can invest in other aspects of your life, right? You're a choreographer, you're into music, but you also saw that the drive in the ecosystem for tech, right? And you only tapped into tech really to invest in the space you were already in, and you fell in love with it, right? So even with you talking about NFTs, and we talked about it when we spoke with you on the phone, is that, what did you guys say? A shift in, I don't want to say a shift in profits, but a shift
a transfer of wealth.
Yes, a transfer of wealth.
Yeah.
And I like that because I'm a fond believer in all people finding and creating their own value systems. So with this ledger and NFTs, right, the people who are investing in the ledgers are really, really the ones creating value, not the system, right? Not, you know, anyone but the people who are invested into, I guess, am I saying it, the blockchain?
Right.
I love that. So.
Yeah, like, and to put it like really simply, think of it this way too. For the first time, you don't have to have like $250,000 worth of confirmed assets in order to be able to invest in something.
I love that.
Right? That asset class that gatekeeps out, like poor people, underserved people, all of that doesn't exist in this space. In this space, right? For the first time, you could be anybody. You could be somebody who has $10 to your name, and you can literally build wealth, because you could take that $10 and go to like open up your MetaMask wallet, which is free, right? You may want to throw $10, into ETH in your MetaMask wallet, but then you go to something like Rarible, which is a platform that you can mint NFTs on, that you can create NFTs on, and it's free. Like you can do what's called gasless minting, right? Where you don't get charged for it.
Okay.
It's like lazy minting. So if you don't have money, you can say, I'm going to create my NFTs, and that fee to mint will end up going, like it'll end up on the buyer as opposed on me, right? So now that person with just $10 can create something and say, I'm going to charge $50 or $100 for this one. Like, let's just say 50, right?
Okay.
The equivalent of $50, which would be like 0.000 whatever it is, right? And say somebody comes along and says, I really love that. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to buy it. Do you know what I mean? That wealth from that person has now transferred. They've now made $50.
I love it.
That they never had, that they would never have access to. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And over time, you know what I mean? Like that $50 worth of ETH in that MetaMask wallet, sitting there, because you now are growing your Ethereum size, right? Like how much Ethereum you have. As Ethereum gains in price, if you don't spend it, right? Now that is increasing in value. So over time, that now $60 because it's added to your 10. You have $60 worth of Ethereum in your wallet. In a year, that might be worth $300, right? In 10 years, that might be worth $3,000, right? And what did you do? Nothing. Do you know what I mean? Like, you did nothing to build that $3,000. If you were to take $10 and put it in a savings account, there is no way in 10 years you would have $3,000. $1,000 in a savings account will gain you about 5 to 10 cents at the end of the year, right? $1,000 in a savings account in a bank, right? So we're not building wealth in a bank. You see what I'm saying? But I can build Ethereum wealth, right? I can build wealth, and I can will that wallet to my niece and nephew, right? And now we have fit generational wealth.
I love that.
Right?
Yes.
So I'm just saying, you know what I mean? These are like the things that, like, access, real access. And that's why people are so excited. They're like, wow, we have mad access right now.
Especially for the artists too, right? That
Right.
like you said, like, I don't want to be cliche, but my man's from Brooklyn, the artist from Brooklyn. I'm like lost for words right now. What is the artist that everyone loves?
Which one?
Oh, man, people put him on t-shirts. He has a funky hairstyle.
Kehinde Wiley?
No, starts with the B.
A B from Brooklyn. What type of art?
Jay-Z always puts them in
Basquiat?
Yes,
Basquiat. Oh, Basquiat. Right? I'm like, I thought you were talking about somebody new.
They had original baskets at Basel. I was standing there like
but like right with him where I heard he didn't really, he didn't become valuable until he passed away, right?
Totally didn't benefit.
So now that's kind of transitioning that space as well.
Totally.
I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Well, yeah. Okay. So let's save some for the rest of the episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to, since you're here and you're so political, I definitely wanted to touch on a couple ratchet topics.
I love it.
Because normally we start at the top.
This
but
is so much. This was great.
Yeah, this was great.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm just blah, 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 blah.
Well, actually, no. This is awesome. Wait. So before we get into the ratchet topics, though, we're gonna do it twice. So, give your contact info and how people can get in contact with you.
Okay, I am at Pilar Cote, PILARCOTE across everything, and like everything from Telegram, Discord, everything. And I can be found on searchlight.art, SEARCHLIGHT.art. I can also be, should I give my email address?
No.
Yeah.
Unless you want to,
but you can DM me. But you can DM me. Yeah. It gets cray sometimes. People send weird pics. I'll just leave it at that.
No.
Yes.
Oh, shouts out to Mr. Tatum. Says, great information. Thank you so much. Glad that we're able to provide some value for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, let's get into these ratchet topics. So Don Lemon, do you guys know what happened?
No.
So I'm on the New York Post, and so it says CNN's Don Lemon is blasted for not mentioning his own key role in Jussie Smollett's drama. So Jussie Smollett said that that's why he didn't turn in the his phone initially to the police, because he had some text messages or whatever from Don Lemon, who was warning him that the police were looking for him. If we don't know what happened initially, Jussie Smollett lied about being attacked by some racists who
allegedly
poured bleach on him, but it ended up that he paid these twins, black guys, to beat him up.
Allegedly.
No, that actually
with
happened.
the parenthesis in the background.
No, that you don't have to say that part allegedly, because that's what he's currently being going through in this moment. So yeah. And so yeah, I mean, it's just it's terrible. And then also too, we know from a couple of days ago, Don Lemon's CNN buddy, Chris Cuomo, he got in trouble because he was basically trying to cover for his brother, who was the governor of New York City, the disgraced, ousted governor of New York City, Andrew Cuomo, who was, let's say, he was accused of sexual harassment, because I don't think he's going through any processes. So he's been accused. We don't have to say allegedly, because that's true. He has been accused.
Has been accused.
And we know that Don Lemon had also been accused of some sexual harassment in the past.
From women?
No. But he was, sexually harassing people still, you know. So yeah, I mean, that one I'm gonna say allegedly, but I hate to say that when it comes to things like sexual harassment,
I got you.
because I'm like, it's kind of. But any hootie Rudy tootie, did you guys hear about any of that or no?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some really interesting internet takes on the Chris Como. Like, I mean, it's his brother. I mean, what do you guys expect? Like,
Right.
of course, if you have a family member that's going through something and you have the resource to help them, you would. Then, of course, I've seen, oh, this is disgusting, left hand media. This is what they do, and I've just seen some interesting takes. I mean, the first comment I made, I mean, yeah, but I don't know in that world, what they're signing as far as non-disclosures and legally, what's acceptable or what's not.
Wait, when
as
you say
far as-
which world and which part?
Like as far as like the information, whatever information Don Lennon gave and whatever information Chris Como gave.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Information Don Lemon gave who?
Like, didn't you say that Don Lennon gave information to Jussie Smollett?
No, he texted them.
Yeah.
Like, the police are gonna come question you. They're looking for you.
I mean, so
And
what do you think about that?
that's why Jussie didn't give the police his phone.
But what do you think about that?
I mean, it's basically like, if that's your friend, I mean, let's just get real with it, just take it to the basics. Like, that's your friend, and you're a top newscaster, so you're privy to certain information, and you text your friend like, hey, the popos are about to come get you.
I mean, I probably would redo that. I probably would have done it too. I'm not saying it's right, but I mean,
call him off the office phone.
That's what you do. But can't you just erase?
You gotta send him.
Just erase it.
No,
You gotta
they can
send
go
him.
through it.
Oh
They
yeah,
can-
nothing's
they can
ever
retrieve
erased.
deleted messages unless you have like
There's-
Telegram or something.
Nothing's ever erased for
But
real.
even so, I think that like it gets him more in trouble by trying to hide it from the FBI. It's like, why not just give over your phone?
Definitely.
right.
It's the FBI.
It's like,
Well,
okay,
right.
I will
hand
say
it
this
over.
I will say this, in the land of protecting what's left of our sovereignty and privacy, I would say fight it tooth and nail. Like, don't give over. Like, don't just submit to the will of the government or authority. You know what I mean? Like, they make them
point.
go through the process. Like, make them
Use all the things.
That's what it's there
make
for.
them use the system. That's what I would say. Like,
yeah, you're right.
don't snitch on yourself.
Totally right.
No, that makes sense.
Totally
I
right.
mean, so it's probably illegal to do something. Is it illegal to do something like that?
To do what?
To text someone and say, "Hey, I'm pretty sure you need to watch your back. They're looking for you."
I don't think that's illegal. To let people know, but it's what's the word? Is bad integrity. Like, it's not good. I don't know what the right word is. It's not illegal though. Like, there's no law that says like you can't, warn someone that they're gonna be in danger. Like, that in and of itself is not illegal, but it's like it makes you look a certain way. It makes you look complicit. Like,
yeah, it does make you look complicit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So but yeah, that's terrible about Don Lemon. But they may get rid of him. He may lose his job over this. I don't know.
I'm shedding tears.
Like, he may. I don't know. They
sure
may
he has
shut him down.
to sit back on though. I'm just saying.
When
He
would
can go to Miami and hang out on the beach.
hopefully he can. I mean, he's still young, so maybe he can. I mean, you can definitely. I mean, he can do something different. Maybe he can be an actor or something.
He
Going to Hollywood.
He can NFT the experience and make a lot of money.
There you
Wow.
That's
go.
a great idea.
Can he? I don't think he can use the CNN signature though.
People have made like a lot of money on tweets.
I've saw
Mark
that.
Cuban, I think, is doing like, sold some tweets. Like, I mean, some crazy people selling some tweets, like ridiculous tweets.
I'm more interested in the people buying tweets and paying a
Can
lot
we
of
go
money
look
for
at
tweets.
Gucci Mane and Kanye's rants over the years? Those tweets
Probably can.
are classic.
Yeah, I wonder. I don't know. This is all interesting.
Those will be expensive, I guarantee you. When Gucci
Mhm.
went off,
I know.
I don't know. That's not my world.
I know. That was
Well-
a bad rant. That was a bad,
No, it's all
bad
good.
rant.
It's welcome. It's welcome. I'm just here like, but
No, Gucci broke the internet that day. That wasn't good.
That's
for
when he-
which thing? For the
And like 2012, he exposed all of his Atlanta ops. Like he was talking about T.I. and Tiny,
he went at
who
Rick
else?
Ross.
Nikki. I feel like he went at
did he
Nicki.
expose
Really?
the
Nicki too?
the T.I. Tiny stuff that came out recently, or was it different?
I think it was different. He
Mm.
was just on a rampage.
I
Just,
bet you those would sell really well.
they
That's
would.
what she-
They
Totally.
would.
There'd be like-
Kanye's
there'd be
rants
like a-
over the years.
There'd be like a clawing party for
Well,
it.
let's
Wiz
see. Go
wears
ahead
cool
and
pants.
so go ahead and mint them then,
Yeah.
and see if you can get money and they don't come after you.
Twitter won't come after me for selling something that was put on their platform that they might own.
Other people have sold tweets.
True.
I don't know. Try it. You be the guinea
we'll
pig.
see. Yeah, I'll be the guinea pig. I'll get sued for us all.
But use one of your names, one of your internet names, not the
One
one
of
you
my
use
many
for
aliases.
production, not the
Yeah, no,
music
no, no, no,
production
no.
one, but a different one.
Should we
For
bring
sure.
Virgil into the space? Speaking of creating value and his legacy.
Yes, we didn't do a show last week, and so yeah, just want to give some honor to Virgil Abloh, who was a creative director for Louis Vuitton and who was a collaborator and who is an innovator and who is a young African human in a creative space, and just his ability to bring forth to new generations some great ideas. Yeah, let's give him some ashe.
Ashe,
Yeah, definitely. Rest in peace.
for sure. They had his services today. Lauryn Hill
Mm.
performed. They had like all different types of
Wow.
shots of Kanye and Rihanna and who
Nice.
else? All of his friends. ASAP Rocky, Tyler the Creator spoke. So that was huge. All of them in that
Wow.
same space. It's been a while with all those people in the same space. So I
Mm.
thought that was interesting.
What was it, was
I
it
think
at a
was his funeral.
gallery
It was
or
his funeral services.
but I mean, where was it held?
I'm not sure.
I mean, like what type of space did it look like?
It looked like a church.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of traditional church.
Somewhat. I think I saw some art in the back.
Yeah, I mean, it's beautiful when people do come together. I do hope that his energy and spirit, could continue to help the community, come together in that type of way, because it feels like that's much needed,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that in this moment.
Shout out Juan X. Yeah, he was the creator of Off-White, which a lot of people were saying they were hoping that the value of Off-White would go up, and it did immediately. The shoes, the jackets, the apparels, and even the items he did with IKEA. I don't know. He created a lot of different couches, tables, a lot of different
Wow.
things. He did a lot of different collabs. He created a lot of babies. Virgil did, like as far as like cross cross collabs between different corporations. He did
Yeah.
a lot of cool stuff. So
Yeah.
for
Wow.
sure.
And that's P Groove there. Says he was the founder of Off-White. Yeah. I mean, that's a really rich career to have in the streetwear, like high-end streetwear
Yeah.
Mhm.
Big
space.
time.
Because too, I mean, for what, 30 years it's been dominated by skater boys, like the white boys,
Yep.
the rich white boys,
Yep.
right? The skater boys,
Trust fund babies.
trust fund babies, right? Who have basically been the gatekeepers of that space forever.
Mhm.
You know, that's your Complex magazine, that's your Hype Beast,
Mhm.
you know, all these, you know, even Fader, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
all these spaces where um white men get to dominate and say, you know, um, what you should be buying, what you should be thinking, you know. And so for him to have, let me use a word, penetrated that space, I don't know another word, sorry. But
And transcended it for sure. Like you just
yeah.
said, I mean, he was a lot of people were laughing at the fact that he was saying that he wanted to make hoodies high fashion. Do you remember that, Deja? Yeah. And so, I mean, he literally did. Like he literally made hoodies, all the like urban streetwear from Rockefeller, Sean John. Shout out. I heard Diddy was trying to rebuy Sean John too.
No,
Yeah.
wow.
So, but yeah, when you think about that whole era, and Piper, you know it more than we do, but that's what Virgil did. He made that type of streetwear very high fashion. So I don't know, cool stuff.
Yeah, I feel like we just giving honor to his life and his legacy, and send his family a lot of love. I mean, he battled cancer,
Mm.
um
Wow.
and it's just it's painful to see that someone had to deal with and struggle through such a violent illness.
Mm.
So just he's at rest, and yeah, just ashe.
Ashe.
Ashay.
Speaking of Ashe's Pipe, do you want to bring Nick Cannon's son into the
Oh,
room?
Nick Cannon lost his son today. Um his son's name is Zen. It's just a little baby. Um so just want to give a little ashe to the little baby Zen's legacy, the little time that he was here.
So precious.
Oh, just
And poor Nick Cannon, right, where he goes onto a show, he works so much, and he kind of shares a little insight about the weekend and the time he spent with his son, and how he basically spent his last moments with his son before he passed. So he broke down like on national TV, which it made me cry, and I don't cry a lot, but that was very, very heartfelt, that moment.
yeah, I mean, his son had brain cancer. Um I mean, a brain tumor. Sorry, brain tumor.
Mm-hmm.
Poor little baby.
I know.
Just got here and so much to deal with. And our creator just brought his little soul back. Um so yeah, and sending so much love to his mother. I'm sure she's grieving, and their entire family, I'm sure they're grieving right now. That's oh
Yeah. Speaking of families grieving, you want to bring the Oxford families into the room?
oh my goodness.
Right?
First of all, definitely sending a lot of love um to all the families who lost their children, who just went to school one day. They just went to high school, and then their life was ripped from them, from a young person who, it appears, has been encouraged by his parents to do so. I guess I'm supposed to say allegedly, but I mean, we all saw, I mean, if y'all saw the same thing I saw,
For sure.
you saw the mother had the text message like with the LOL in it. Like what was her text message that it said something like he was saying that he had the gun and he was gonna shoot the kids, and she was like, "Oh, don't get caught or whatever." LOL. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is like stuff that was coming out in court,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess his father. I'm unsure right now because some reports I saw said that his father bought the gun for him.
That's what I was gonna
Yeah,
say.
he did.
Yeah.
And then other reports I saw said that the father bought the gun and then the kid Ethan took it.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I'm not sure which.
He posted, "This is my new
This is my new baby.
my Christmas gift."
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure they purchased it for him for Christmas.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure they did. So
For Christmas.
yeah.
No, the dad
Early
bought it at
Christmas.
Black Friday.
Well, yeah, it was an
Early
early Christmas.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Early Christmas
Yeah.
present.
The fact is, they're just like they're facilitating.
Yeah, allowing,
You're getting your 15-year-old
enabling.
a weapon that kills humans. Like that, like those weapons are designed for human kills. Like that's their whole purpose is human kills.
Mm-hmm.
And you're giving a 15-year-old a weapon that kills humans.
Knowing he's not all there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was looking up bullets online. He did a what was it, the social media that he was going to do it. They found what was it, like that day, like 3 hours before it happened, the parents were
Called in.
in the I guess they said administrator's office.
Yep.
And
they refused to take the kid home, apparently.
Yeah, they refused to take him home.
Oh my
What?
God.
Wouldn't you call
Yeah.
Child Protective Services at that point? Like, what do you mean you're not taking your child home and he's not allowed to be in this building anymore? What?
There was some disruption,
Right.
and the parents were called in, and I heard this on NPR, and then they refused to take the boy home, and he ended up staying at the school.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow, bad policy right there.
And I guess,
Man.
well,
let one of our mamas not want to take us home.
Oh, come on now.
Police everybody up there at the school immediately.
Yeah.
For what?
Parents getting arrested immediately.
well, I guess also.
All to teach us a lesson, maybe in their minds, but they just let this little kid just.
Oh, I
stay
see
in school
Bryce.
after.
Bryce is in the building. That's Detroit
Hey, Bryce.
Recordings.
Woo.
Bryce Detroit is Detroit
Shouts
Recordings.
out to Mr. Bryce.
Yeah.
And
Bryce has been on here before. Bryce, you got to come back.
yeah, we'll have to bring Bryce back 2022
Come back.
for an update. And I want to get P Groove on here. He's
P. Groovy.
ducking me. But yeah, so I mean, they showed. I don't know what is that? It wasn't a trial, was it? It was just a hearing.
The pretrial? Oh, hearing.
Just a hearing, right? What? I get confused. All these. I think it was a hearing.
Okay.
I don't know. Don't quote me.
Where they're trying to figure stuff out.
They're
I
trying
know
to
what you
figure
mean.
stuff out.
Right.
And the mother was on there, had the nerve to be crying. Did you see it?
No, I didn't see that.
Not boo-hoo.
Oh man, she
No,
was crying like a
boo-hoo.
newborn baby. Like the judge was like, "You're gonna go away for a long time, boo. Do you understand?" She was like, and the attorney was so, forgive my French, ghetto. Her attorney is so ghetto.
Wow.
This white lady, with the way she was talking in court, it was the most unprofessional way that I've ever seen anyone. She was speaking like, as if she never went to law school. Like,
oh, wow.
it's like, like when you would see like Rodney Dangerfield or something.
Yeah.
She was just goofy. And then it was like, the judge was like, yeah, you were supposed to like, show up and this and that. She had these excuses, like the dog ate my homework.
Oh,
I didn't come because, I didn't know, and all this other stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was so dumb. Like, like her
Wow.
attorney was the worst. Her
Super
attorney was the
incompetent.
worst. Oh, Mama and G is in the building listening. Shouts out to Mama and G, Big G, Mama G, matriarch of
Yes.
Detroit culture.
She has to come back on the show too.
Yeah, Mama and G was on the show. She got to
Yeah,
come back,
great
give us an
episode.
update 2022. Yeah, but I mean, if you guys go back and watch, the mom has the nerve when the judge was like handing stuff down. And I'm telling you, like, whoever that attorney is, like, that's defending. I mean, thank goodness they have a terrible attorney, but the attorney that's defending them is like the worst attorney ever.
Oh no.
It's got to be somebody's cousin. Like I know she's
Oh,
somebody's
Court appointed.
she's
type?
somebody's play cousin.
Oh,
No.
Like that's somebody's
no.
play cousin.
I
You know,
really-
like when they're like, oh, you know, they're like, oh, my play cousin took the certificate on YouTube, the legal. Yeah, I'm like, what is she talking? Like she didn't know what she was talking about. Like she didn't show up for the stuff that she didn't file what she was supposed to
Clueless.
file. Like she was.
Wow.
I was like, I mean, but thank goodness, you know, the creator
Right,
knows that's the type of
right.
attorney that that they need because they need to get locked up, you know, and that's me as an abolitionist saying they need to get locked up. But
I want to know. I got to look up the articles that show the chronological order of when the school started hearing about the threats, right? And they sent out the letters. The administrators sent out the letters. They had little meetings, like, and then from the kids knowing the day before not to show up to school because they knew something was going to happen on that day. Like, where does the administration, similar to the Travis Scott situation on a pie chart, what percentages the administrations blame, right? The school districts blame to still have school. You knew about it. You know?
I mean, hindsight's 2020. It is difficult. And once it happened, they said they got a lot of like copycat threats, and I think if I'm not mistaken,
Wall Lake
like
Central today,
like 8 kids got, I don't know if the word is arrested, detained, or you know, are not allowed to come back to school or got in trouble, you know, legally. I don't know exactly what happened to them, but just for threatening to do the same thing, right? And so it is difficult to you know, like just try to figure out like, oh, okay, well, they said they were gonna blow up the school.
but you let him walk back in the school.
These are these
the
are
kids
acts
you tried
of,
to kick out.
right. These are acts of terror.
Oh man,
Like
yeah.
even just saying that you're going to do that, that's an act of terror.
Right.
It is.
When is the system going to take that seriously? Do you know what I mean? Like we have how many hundreds of like shootings every year? Like if somebody says I'm going to shoot up the school or I own a gun and I want to hurt people, like how is that not considered instantly an act of terror? We're going to like drill you now.
I'll
Like,
tell you why it's a
know what I
slippery
mean?
slope, because this is where
it's
it gets the slippery
crazy.
slope. I mean, I hate to say when you're dealing with kids, but when you're dealing with kids, a lot of times kids do say
Of course they do.
wild,
Of course,
off
of
the wall
course.
stuff, especially, you know, dealing with
Right.
emotions and stuff. So
But that's what I mean. Like
yeah,
that's,
like how do you determine
but that should be
this is the time?
right. But shouldn't that be your first step? Should be like we need to take this seriously. We now move into investigation mode. Are there guns at home? Does this child have access to weapons? Is this a real threat? Look inside. Like the policy is we have to look inside your locker every day. Every day and every, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
every
for
single
sure.
day. Like every single day, we go to your locker, we unlock it to see what you've got. We like pat you down every single day. If that's for 3 months, whatever, that's the policy. Do you know what I mean? Like when
Someone
are you
said
gonna
that they had the metal
investigate?
detectors in the wrong schools.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
Yeah.
My
You know
mom
what I'm
always says
saying?
that. Yeah.
It's
But I guess also too,
crazy.
it's difficult. It's difficult because you're also dealing with
Privileged
people's
kids.
people's freedom, right? Like
Sure.
you know, people's rights. I
Quote
mean,
unquote.
quote unquote, right? So it's interesting that if you come to the hood, if you will,
Yeah.
there's all types of measures
Used against people for
in
nothing.
you know, in our schools.
Yep.
Even in the
to,
fast food restaurants, or the
even in
gas
the
stations.
gas stations,
Little
fast food
things.
restaurants,
Right.
yeah,
Little
there's all types of
things.
measures.
Yep.
And at the same time, I'm gonna be honest with you, like I personally am not comfortable with authorities, like, you know, mandating things, or like, you know, authorities trying to regulate. And that's only being a black person of color
Sure.
that's always experienced that in a
course.
negative way. I've never seen it work. But yeah, like what do you do? So let's say that one kid, right? You're following that kid, right? And then if the policy is like 3 months, then he knows like, okay, well in 3 months I'll just bring my gun. Or if it's, every single day, like, what if, how do you catch, you know what I mean? Like, he said he was going to do it, but then, you know,
I just
what are
think
the other instances from the kids who you can't catch, who, didn't say they were going to do it? So how do
Sure.
you, like,
But I look at it.
how do you
if you
manage
make
that?
a
Right, but
threat,
I-
you need to be expelled from school.
But I look at it, I look at it like that. We have what, like 91 black girls of color in the state of New York expelled for speaking loudly or some
Oh,
or
yeah.
stupid shit in like what, like 2018 or 2019.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Where there
Beat
were like
up
no
by the security guard.
right, where there were like no like white children who had more egregious
Yeah.
like things that they did were never expelled, right? So you know what I mean? And we know that's the school to prison pipeline,
Yeah.
and that like kids are expelled from preschool because they have brown skin,
Yeah.
and they're like whatever, doing whatever.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Treated
Like,
as criminals.
treated as criminals. So you're
Funneled
tell-
into the
right,
system.
right. So you're telling me that like we can expel like brown skinned kids for speaking loud or not having homework or all the stupid shit that
Or
they
talking
use,
back.
everything, all the stupid shit, or being a 5-year-old and crying
Oh,
loudly.
have the wrong uniform.
Right.
Or not
Right.
have your
Yes,
uniform.
yes, all the things.
Mhm.
But you're not going to expel a kid who has access to weapons and
Yeah.
has threatened to do harm.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to
Excuse
kill
me.
everybody
I
in
have a
here.
problem with that, right?
and-
Expel the
yeah.
kid.
Mhm.
As soon as that threat, that's a real threat. That is
Yeah.
like a threat. Like
And-
a,
and
But
like,
then
you
what
know-
happens, right? So let's say, so then, okay, so he's expelled.
yeah.
So now he can just come up to the school and kill everybody. So how, like, what's the
They have an on
process?
They have an on-duty police officer inside that school, just in general, right? So the
Mhm.
process is that until it, the heat, let the heat die down, you only allow one entrance into the school, right? And you lock all the other doors.
Yep.
And
You can't do
have-
that.
Okay.
You have to have multiple.
So then now you
entrance
have
and exits.
security guards,
No, but
right?
you
And
lock,
building
you lock
personnel.
coming in.
Yeah.
You can leave, but you can't come in.
Correct. And then you make one entrance, and then you
Mhm.
have the on-duty police officer
At that
until
entrance.
at that entrance.
Yep.
And that becomes a problem. Then if his parents are coming up to the school still trying to get him in, that's when they're trespassing because you've already expelled him, and then you arrest the parents.
But you're talking about like one kid, right?
But he has threat.
I know,
okay.
but my point is
Kids
like
were scared,
that's just
right? Kids were scared. They knew not to come to school that day.
Yeah, some.
This is escalated. This was beyond one kid making a threat.
This is like a kid who obviously is a problem kid. He has a record of problems. He has a record of issues. They called the parents because they knew that there's a record. There's a problem here. There's like a consistent problem, and the parents are so fed up with their kid they didn't want to take him home. That is like, do you know what I mean? Like this is a pattern. There's a pattern, and nobody wanted to address the pattern.
Agreed.
And that's the problem. If you don't want to address the problem, well, like, do you know what I mean? A pattern, then this is what happens. Do you know what I mean? Like, how do you not see a pattern and not do something?
Yeah.
To
I mean, I
protect
guess
the larger body.
Yeah, but
Like,
I guess also
your
too,
duty is to protect
how
the
do you?
kids.
Yeah, but I guess like also too, how do you follow that up? So let's say like okay, so they catch him one day. You see what I mean? So okay, so they catch him one day that he did a threat, and it's like, okay, you can't come back to school. But then what about the next day? Once he's expelled.
Yeah, once he's expelled, he's not coming back. He can't get in.
No, but he can come up to the school.
Yeah,
He
that's
can
what we
come up to
said.
the
We
school, but
secure
then-
you secure all the other doors. They already have
Yeah.
the doors numbered. You have
Yeah, but that's
walkie-talkies.
what I'm saying is that's
But now
just
you
the
have-
doors.
But now you have
right.
a restraining order policy,
Correct.
right? You have a restraining order. You're supposed to stay away. Now a judge gets involved, and
Correct.
if you come in within certain yards of that school, your parents also get charged with that
Oh,
restraining order.
correct.
That's
situation.
why those parents are
now
getting
those-
charged
yeah,
now
Correct.
Yeah,
because they're let's hope that they're trying to teach everyone a lesson. Like you have to
Yeah.
take responsibility for your kids
Absolutely.
if you're, there's weapons and this and that. But what I will say is it's not guaranteed that if you have a restraining order that people follow the restraining
of
order.
course they don't, but
know,
it's
yeah.
something.
Yeah,
it's a
nothing is-
measure.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
at least a measure.
Nothing is
Mhm.
security proof, right? Nothing
No,
you do
no.
in that situation. If you put a
No.
freaking hub over the school, somebody can burst through the glass of it, right? Nothing's fully proof, but you do put a process in place to at least attempt. And that's where the issue becomes. There was no attempt to be more secure.
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
To
no, I'm
protect
with
the
I'm
other
with you on
kids.
that. I'm with you on that. But I guess I'm also thinking of it like, it's America's such a violent place.
It's
Like it's
brutal.
rooted
Yeah,
in
for sure.
violence. The history is of the country is a violent history,
Super violent.
and
Genocide, slavery.
genocide, slavery,
And
the
now we
entire
just put
culture
guns in everybody's hands. You know what
is
I mean?
just so violent,
It's
and
violent.
all the entertainment is so violent. I mean, I know everyone gets upset when we talk about blaming films and TV
Music.
and music, but I mean, there's no option. Like pretty much 99.9% of what's out there is violent
Mhm. Or
in some form or
pornified.
fashion.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
To be continued.
That's going to be
As they made their way
be
to
continued.
Detroit, right? We'll just leave it off with they made their way to Detroit. The parents did, right?
Oh, let's just get into that real quick. They said it was they said it was a suburb of Detroit. It was like 40 miles
That's so
from
annoying
Detroit.
that they're doing that too. I must say, right outside
That's
Detroit
like an hour.
nationally.
Do you
right?
know why they're trying to do that?
Because it was a
course.
shooting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, Detroit is so violent. It's so
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it's brown people. It's so criminal, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you know what? Just end the segregation bullshit.
I'm like,
and
when have they ever talked about anything outside of Detroit and then them say
just be the
right
suburbs.
outside Detroit? Never, right?
Yeah, because
So-
no one knows where Oxford, Michigan is.
Correct.
I
They
get
never
that.
heard of it.
I
Never
get that.
heard of it. Never heard of
But
it.
they
they're
were like,
they're attaching Detroit to it systematically. Let's
That's
be
the
clear.
problem. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, why don't you just call it the white suburbs? It's the white suburbs. Why don't you just call it that?
Yeah,
It's
I know if I'm
further than the suburbs, though.
yes,
even.
near Metamore.
It's further than it says. Like it's
That's like calling Ann Arbor a suburb or Saginaw.
But if
Like-
we
And it's
drive
like it
around
just
there, they're
far.
still gonna pull
Things
us
no one
over.
knows about if you're not from there.
I know.
Like
yeah, it's
We're
like
still getting pulled over.
It
if
should
we
be
drive through
far as
Oxford.
hell
Oh,
from.
man.
They should have said this is far as
You know?
hell from Detroit, and it's all white people, and there's really no black
country.
people.
It's
just
country.
rural.
That's
It's
what I'm
country.
saying. Saginaw.
Like,
and,
talk about it. Like,
far
it's
out.
this is
well, you know what's
white people's
interesting
small
too,
town.
that the family or the parents, they ran to the east side of Detroit to some artist's house, right?
No.
And the
Yeah, for sure.
artist
Mhm.
was a muralist.
Yes.
And he did a mural in Oxford. But when the police questioned him, he claimed that he
didn't even know that they were there. Is what
that's what he said. He said he didn't know they were there. But how coincidental is it that he did this mural in Oxford, though?
But he
Right.
must have had a relationship with them.
Yeah,
I
no,
think
they
so.
were
Because how would they
friends.
know
He
to go
did
to
business.
his loft
Yeah.
or
No,
whatever?
he did
studio.
business with the mom at one point. She was someone in the art world, and that's how that connection happened.
What a disaster. It's
Right.
just a disaster all the way
True.
It's
around.
terrible.
Like,
It
all
is.
of it.
It's disgusting.
horrible.
But
What a
what's
horrible-
interesting is I wonder how the police found them there. Maybe GPS tracking.
They said
I don't know.
someone saw
Recognized
their
the
license
car.
plate. Yeah.
Oh.
They recognized the car and the ladder,
Go
the parking
Detroit.
lot.
But-
yeah.
Wow.
Another rumor.
Like,
This is a
shit.
really
But
strong
and they're
rumor.
gonna get the 10 G's. They're gonna get the artist is gonna get the 10 G's. I bet you she called him, and I don't know.
Set 'em up.
No, the person
I bet
that
you she
dropped the
called him.
tip.
I thought the artist was the one who dropped the tip. No, it's somebody
No,
different.
No,
Yeah,
someone saw their car at his residence.
Correct.
So
at his-
how
at
does
his
that
studio.
person know?
They saw the
Because let me
license
tell you,
plate.
no, listen.
Or the vehicle. I
How
think
do
it's the
you
vehicle.
know what car does and doesn't belong and what license plate? How would you know something like that?
I
You
really
wouldn't
don't
know what license plate, but you know when a car is there and when it shouldn't be there, and especially if it's an art
Maybe.
studio, it probably wouldn't be frequented as much.
Maybe.
And
I
then
have to
suddenly
see what it
this
looks like.
suspicious car that's
There are
on the
people,
run.
There are people who are in Detroit. There are people. Think of the community, like
Neighborhood
community
watch.
neighborhood
Oh
watch.
yeah,
They're
these white
hardcore,
folks are
man.
nosy.
They're hardcore.
They
the
are.
binoculars.
They
They used
are.
to be my grandparents always worried about what everybody else is doing. I'm like,
I've had
Granddaddy,
people come
why are
up
you
to me
watching
in the
the
street
neighbors?
like, "Are you moving in now? Are you moving in? Like, where are you from?" Like all of that.
Yeah.
Well, they
peep
said-
all,
they-
peep all.
They said
Yeah.
they were trying to get smuggled to Canada. Believe it or not, I don't know if that's the true, but that That
I believe it.
I do too.
They
But
don't
They
even,
wasn't gonna make
they
it
don't
into
look
Canada.
vaccinated. I was just about to say they
Well,
don't
no,
look
no. I said
vaccinated in order to
smuggle.
get over there. Like,
Guys,
they
I
look
said
dirty
smuggle.
as
I
hell.
literally said smuggle. Right? There's
Dirty.
apparently people here that know how to smuggle people into Canada.
I guess.
Yeah.
I mean,
We're-
they do have those
Detroit is a
tunnels from Canada Dry.
And Detroit is a trafficking capital, so it's easy
Yeah.
to get through.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
true.
Mhm.
Unfortunately,
Mhm.
the fact that they know
We're like a
people who can
super highway.
smuggle them in.
Yep.
Isn't that
That's
wild?
terrifying.
How about that?
That's terrifying.
How about that? I don't know
Yeah.
anyone that can smuggle anyone anywhere.
Let's be clear. I don't either.
Me neither.
Look, we
I'm
do
I don't know any
terrified. I'm terrified
smugglers.
that they know.
I don't know any smugglers.
No smugglers. No smuggles.
That was
Oh,
my
my
first time of
goodness.
hearing of anything like that.
That is crazy.
It's crazy. But you know what? But it you know what? It speaks to the whole irresponsible parenting. If you lean into those types of things in your world, in your life, like of course you're going to be like a lax parent, hands off, not that you
Yeah,
know,
get your
involved.
kid,
Like, get your kid a gun,
a
because
child
it's
a
cool.
gun. You want to take
Like,
it to
you're a
school?
fucking
Go show your
idiot
friends.
making the stupidest decisions for
Yeah.
your child. Of course.
Oh my
Makes
god.
sense.
Let's
I
just
swore. I'm so sorry. I got excited. I
No,
apologize.
No,
this
you-
is good. This is
Brittany
sorry.
swears all the time.
Oh, did she?
Oh,
Oh, God.
oh
sorry.
my God, Piper.
Potty
Hey,
mouth.
I do too. It's okay.
I don't
What
swear
did
that
Q-Tip
much.
say? He curses to help get his point across.
Yeah.
Jazz, we've got. Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, we've yapped. I will say this. I do want to we have one more Ashe. So our beloved brother Bryce father made his transition,
Mm.
and his dad was so awesome. What a wonderful human. I had the honor and the pleasure and the privilege of knowing him, of loving him, of being loved by him, and really appreciate his spirit, really appreciate his wisdom and his strength, and being a part of the community, the arts community, the music community in Detroit. And I want to send our beloved brother Bryce and his brother Sage, his mom, as well as his sisters, and his children, his whole family, just a lot of love in this time. Yeah, that is a lot to see your parent transcend into the ancestor realm. And Bryce is an ancestor worshiper. So I know that he knows that his father has ascended upon his throne in the afterlife and in paradise. So, but just wanted to call his name Baba Wilbert Franklin Small Jr. So I wanted to give an ashe.
Ashe.
Yeah, and much gratitude for your spirit and your presence. So yeah. So we can end there. I would love to let's go around. Pilar, you go first. Give us just like some encouraging words for the people, and also again how folks can contact you.
Okay. So I just want to say thank you so much for having me. I'm super grateful, and I hope that everyone finds moments of gratitude in their lives, here and there, or as much as possible. It really, I find that gratitude helps us be present. So when you really want to be present in your life, gratitude really helps center that. You can find me at Pilar Cote across everything. And I do want to also mention that I have a show that I'm curating for, it's in alignment with the United Nations 16 Days to End Violence Against Women and Girls. It's an art show coming up, launching on the 9th. And it'll be up in the metaverse in Spatial for about a month and 2 weeks. So yeah, artworks that, from women of color and women that center that cause.
Yes.
That's great.
So dope.
What about you, Deja?
My words. I don't know. I'm kind of at a blank. Pilar just took it right out of my mouth. That's usually mine, is just to stay grateful. So I'm just gonna let her have that perfect moment. She said it so eloquently.
Nice.
Brittany?
I would say that we spoke about it when mentioning Virgil. Always leave a little space. You don't know what people are going through, right? Always I want to also bring in value in that too, right? Find different ways to create value and to see value. And then I always say, again, leave space for never knowing what people are completely going through. So,
Yeah, for me, I'm going to say I'm very grateful. I'm grateful that for you, Pilar, is my friend. I'm so grateful you're my brilliant, beautiful friend. And I love you too. And I'm so excited that you're going to be joining us to help us understand NFTs. I'm excited about your show that's going to center the crypto world, crypto art and crypto curiousness and all of that. And, I'm very grateful for you, Deja, and the music that you shared with us today. It's super dope. I'm very grateful to get to see your growth and evolution as a producer. It's really sweet. And I'm glad you share your music with us here on our platform, and then we get a chance to share your music with the world. And I'm very grateful for you, Brittany, because you are a champion and a wonderful producer, and you continue to strive for excellence, and you are a winner. I always tell you you're a winner. So I'm grateful that you're on our side. And I'm glad that all of y'all are on the side of the Jedi.
Hey.
So glad that all these amazing people here, and grateful to Kari for this space, our illustrious proprietor of Detroit is Different, and grateful to all the listeners that we've had today. The chat has been much more lit up. I see a lot of love in the chat from all of our family, so grateful to everyone who joined us in the chat, and just want to ask everyone, of course, to visit DetroitIsDifferent.net to listen to all of the podcasts that are on the platform, and to visit us on our social media. We are on Instagram, and that is Piper Carter Podcast. We are also on Facebook, and I created a Facebook group for us to continue with people who would like to continue this conversation on Piper Carter Podcast. And share, and subscribe. We are on all streaming platforms, including Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and now we're on YouTube live, and we're doing video. So just let your friends know, tune into the Piper Carter Podcast, and also interact with us on our Facebook group and let us know what you would like us to talk about, and we will incorporate it. And we're always looking for interesting guests. So hit us up if you're an interesting person. No misogyny.
None.
No misogyny. And other than that, just want everyone to have a beautiful and wonderful week until we see you next week. Peace.
Peace.